in particular what happened on that date that brings you to court today?
Yes.
What happened, Ms. Strickland?
Okay, so on my way to Little Caesars, heading east towards 7 Mile and Telegraph, I did see the accident. I seen some officers outside of the car directing the right turn. You can only make a right turn. So I did that. On my way back, heading west, there were no police officers outside of the car. I did see them blocking the 2 lanes. No one was out the car making any signals. So I proceeded on to the light. And once I got to the light, I seen that it was nowhere for me to go. So that's when it was behind me. But no one was out of the car.
So, Ms. Strickland, is your testimony on July 28th, you were driving on 7 Mile, is that correct?
Yes.
And while driving on 7 Mile, you did encounter police officers? Did you encounter police officers on that day?
Yes.
And the officers that you encountered, did you see them directing traffic on your initial trip on 7 Mile? I think you indicated you were going to Little Caesars.
Yes.
Did those officers give you any signals?
Yes, to make a right turn.
And did you make a right turn?
Yes.
At some point, you come back to that location.
Yes, it was on my way home.
So on your way home, could you tell us, or on your way home, did you see officers again?
Yes.
What were those officers doing?
They were sitting in the car.
Where were they sitting in a car?
It was 3, so they were just in, like he said, diagonal, blocking 2 lanes, but the middle lane was still open.
Were there any other cars in the area, like moving traffic? Were there any other cars moving in that area?
Yes.
Were you given any signals as you were driving, I guess you would say home that day?
No.
Did you see any officers directing traffic as you were on your way home?
No.
Did you ever get stopped by police officers or an officer?
Yes.
And what happened during that stop?
Once he stopped me, 3 officers hopped out the car and they were on, I don't know. I remember him being on my passenger side. The one that I seen today, he was on the passenger side talking to me. And he said, you have to pay more attention. You wasn't supposed to go past, but I didn't know because it was still an option to go in the Coney Island. And I said, I didn't know. I was not trying to disobey the signal and disregard it. I had no idea I couldn't pass and go to the middle lane.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Go ahead and proceed, Mr. Rosenthal.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ma'am. I just have a couple questions for you. So you did notice the accident, correct?
Yes.
And was the accident that you noticed on the way to Little Caesars, or was it coming back home?
It was like both. I had to pass it going there and coming back.
And did you get pulled over coming back?
Yes.
Did you get pulled over when you were going to Little Caesars?
No.
And when you were coming back, you did see officers directing traffic?
No.
When you were going to Little Caesars, though, you did notice officers directing traffic?
Yes.
And when these officers were directing traffic signals, you noticed the signals, were they clear?
Yes.
And upon getting to the intersections, did you pass the officers when you were coming home?
Yes.
And then when you were getting pulled over, you did stop.
Yes.
And the officer explained to you the ticket?
What do you mean by that?
The officer explained to you why he was issuing the ticket, ma'am?
Yes.
And although you said you weren't aware, you did agree that, you weren't positive on what direction to go to.
Objection.
Well, rephrase the question.
I'll strike that, Your Honor. When you took a right, ma'am, did you see any other cars go in the same direction you were going?
Yes.
And those cars were directed by officers?
Yes.
So there were officers directing traffic on your way back home to Little Caesars?
No.
Or, no? No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. So, Ms. Strickland, when you were on your way to Little Caesars, what direction were you traveling?
I was heading east.
So you're heading east. So did you cross the 7 Mile and Evergreen intersection?
No. I made a right turn.
All right, what street did you make the right turn? So you made the right turn before you got to Evergreen, correct?
No. I made the right turn on Evergreen.
You made a right turn from 7 Mile onto Evergreen?
Yes.
And then what route did you take to get to the Little Caesars? Because the Little Caesars is on the, if you're heading from west going east, the Little Caesars is on the east side of Evergreen, correct?
Yes, it's on the left-hand side.
Right. No, if you're going east, it'd be on your right-hand side. If you're coming from the other side of Evergreen, if you're at Greenfield and going to Evergreen, the Little Caesars is on your left.
Right.
But if you're at like Burke Road and coming to Evergreen, the Little Caesars will be on your right.
Okay, no, it was on my left.
So you were coming from Greenfield going towards Evergreen.
No, I was going to Evergreen.
Right, but from what direction? Were you traveling from west to east to get to Evergreen? Or were you traveling from east to west to get to Evergreen? So, all right, let me back up.
If I may, Your Honor.
The first time you received a direction from the officers, you made a right turn.
Yes.
At the direction of the officer.
Yes.
And what street did you make that right turn on?
You said what street?
Yes.
On Evergreen.
All right, so you said you physically saw officers directing traffic, right?
Yes, on the way there.
Right. And did you see a vehicle straddling lanes of traffic? Yes or no? On the way there?
No.
Okay, so there was just officers outside, not a vehicle on the way there.
It was officers outside, but no, it wasn't a vehicle blocking. The car was somewhere not close to the officers, so no, it was just us.
And then, okay, so you made a right turn. You were directed to make a right turn on the Evergreen.
Yes, on 7 Mile.
And then what route did you drive to get to the Little Caesars?
I continued straight, and then it was on my left-hand side.
No, ma'am, wait, hold on. So, but no. Well, you made a turn. Is the Little Caesars on 7 Mile or Evergreen?
7 Mile.
All right, so you made a right turn on Evergreen.
Yes.
And then how did you get to the Little Caesars?
Okay, where was I going then?
Ma'am, you can't get help on your testimony. Ms. Harris, please instruct your client on what's the proper way to testify.
I don't believe she's getting help. I believe she's just looking off. There should be no one in
There's
the room
another
with
voice.
you.
I just heard another voice.
I didn't hear a voice, Your Honor.
I did.
If there's someone in the room with you, Ms. Strickland, that person cannot be there.
That was me. I can show all my surroundings.
Yeah, I didn't hear a voice.
Well, that's why we gotta go back to her for the in-person trial. All right, Ms. Strickland, okay. Let's agree to one thing. The Little Caesars is on 7 Mile. Correct or incorrect?
Correct.
So if you make a right turn on Evergreen in any direction, you can't get to the Little Caesars if you stay straight, right? Because if you go straight if you turn on Evergreen, if you turn off of 7 Mile on Evergreen, and you go straight south, you're not gonna get to the Little Caesars on 7 Mile. If you turn right on Evergreen and you go straight north, you're not gonna get to the Little Caesars on 7 Mile. So how did you, after you said you were instructed to make a right turn on the 7 Mile, how did you then get to the Little Caesars? Madam, these questions are being asked because there's a lot of directionality in this case and understanding of position. And there's a few answers that are leaving some confusion. So I'm trying to get the directionality correct here. All right. So we know that if you made a right turn on Evergreen, you had to do something to still be able to get to a Little Caesars on 7 Mile. Because you turned off of 7 Mile because they told you you were directed to make a right on Evergreen, and then you still managed to get to the Little Caesars. How?
I just continue straight, and it's there. I don't know. Maybe I don't have my sense of directions right, but I know I made a right, and I continue straight, and Little Caesars on my left.
All right. So you said you were going home after you left the Little Caesars.
Yes.
And what street do you live on?
I don't live anywhere near there. I live on Pearson at 6 Mile.
So what route were you trying to take to get back to Pearson and 6 Mile?
I was heading west towards a light.
And what light was that? What intersection?
7 Mile of Evergreen.
Okay. And what route were you going to take exactly?
I was going to make a left at the light.
To go southbound on Evergreen?
Yes.
She is right.
All right, I'm done. I have no further questions. Anything based on that, Ms. Harris?
Not based on that, but based off questions from Mr. Rosenthal.
All right, yes, go ahead, redirect briefly.
I just wanted to be clear for the record. When you were going to Little Caesars, you saw officers directing traffic.
Right.
Is that your testimony?
Yes.
When you were proceeding home, you did not see officers directing traffic in the direction that you were traveling.
Correct.
Also, the Little Caesars that you were attempting to, I guess, the Little Caesars that you were en route to, it is on 7 Mile or is it on Evergreen?
It's on 7 Mile.
The officers gave you a direction to turn right. When you turned right, what street were you on?
When I turned right, what street was I on?
Yes, when the officers gave you a direction to turn right and you followed that direction and turned right, what street were you on?
On Evergreen.
So you were on Evergreen. At any point, did you make any other turns while you were on Evergreen?
No.
Okay. That's all, Your Honor.
Based on my questioning, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Harris. No, okay, based on my questioning, anything further, Mr. Rosenthal?
At this moment, Your Honor, no.
All right, Ms. Harris, does the defense have an additional witness?
No, Your Honor.
All right. All right, the parties want to move to close?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may proceed, Mr. Rosenthal.
Thank you, Your Honor. So right now what's going on is we have an individual who did see the police officer directing traffic on the way to Little Caesars. During this this time, they went to Little Caesars, came back, and there was police still in the area dealing with an ongoing accident, ongoing investigation. The defendant then was going in the direction not stated by the officer and was inevitably pulled over for going in that direction. Officer issued ticket and explained to the defendant why she received that ticket.
I'm going to object, Your Honor. I know it's closing, but I don't recall testimony that the officer stated that he explained the ticket.
I did ask the officer on direct if when he issued the ticket, if he explained why he cited the ticket.
Well, the statement should be limited. The testimony was that the officer told her to be more careful and pay more attention. I recall hearing that. Proceed,
Exactly.
Mr. Rosenthal. That's what the court is going to consider only.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. And during this, the ticket was issued. For officer safety, for individual and public on the street, officers have to conduct their investigation thoroughly and have to sometimes manage traffic in a safe manner so there's not another accident or there's not any other danger to public safety. And therefore, the officers were doing their job, even though this might be a misunderstanding on direction. They were following the protocol. That's all I have, Your Honor.
You may proceed, Ms. Harris.
Thank you, Your Honor. Second. Your Honor, in this particular offense, Ms. Strickland is charged with failing to follow the order or direction of a police officer. Pursuant to the statute, which I believe is MCL 257.602, a person shall not refuse to comply with the lawful order or direction of a police officer when that officer is guiding, directing, controlling, or regulating traffic on the highways of this state. Based on the testimony that was given today during trial, it cannot be reasonably ascertained that a direction was given and understood. Ms. Strickland's testimony is that officers gave her directions as she was traveling to her original destination. She followed those directions. The court should take into consideration the fact that when given clear communications, Ms. Strickland indicates that she followed clear communications. Ms. Strickland then indicates that as she was proceeding back, there were no officers giving any directions. So she proceeded on following other traffic. Corporal Esserman doesn't quite recall all of the facts or all of the information pertaining to the particular date and time. He doesn't recall his partner. He didn't remember how many officers were present. He was able to let us know that there were other officers possibly directing traffic. What we never heard was whether or not Ms. Strickland made clear contact with Corporal Esserman to know that a direction may or may not have been given. She indicates that on her original trip, she was given clear direction, but we do not know what happened on that return trip. We do know that Corporal Esserman testifies that he did tell defendant that she has to pay attention and be more careful. From that, we would ask the court to infer that possibly she didn't see any direction, or maybe she wasn't paying attention if a direction was given. We don't know. We don't know if Corporal Esserman gave a direction. We don't know if possibly another officer gave a direction. It's plain and simple. We don't know. We would ask the court to find Ms. Strickland not guilty of this offense.
All right, I'm reopening the record. Ms. Strickland, was the officer who gave you the initial direction to turn right on Evergreen, was that the officer who was on the screen today?
No.
And all right, nothing further. Anything based on that, Mrs. Rosenthal, Ms. Harris?
Oh, yeah.
No, Your Honor.
All right, are you concluding your closing, Ms. Harris?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, the court is 1 ticket, 1 count, disregarding the officer signal. There's only 2 witnesses that have been supplied for testimonial evidence, one being the officer of record, the other being the accused. The testimony coming from the corporal is that they responded to an accident on 7 Mile and Evergreen and attempted to divert westbound traffic that was east of the intersection of Evergreen and 7 Mile and diverting traffic either north or south on Westmoreland. That was the directionality that the officer testified to, that they were east of Evergreen, they were east of the intersection, directing traffic north or south on Westmoreland. And that they were outside of the car giving directions to do so. They encountered the defendant drove around their car, and they then pursued the defendant and issued a ticket. That brings us here today. There's pretty much nothing beyond that as far as direct contact with the accused. The defendant states that they encountered the police officer at one instance before they got to the Little Caesars and were directed to go turn on to 7 Mile. Directed to turn off of 7 Mile onto Evergreen. Then they somehow encountered a police vehicle that was straddling 2 lanes of traffic and drove around that vehicle. They felt it was permissible to do so. All right, so the court is really confused with the testimony of the accused. Directionality is very important in this case, as far as positioning and directioning and determining how the officer and then the defendant actually came into contact with each other, which I think is, which the court believes is crucial to understanding how any communication could have happened between the 2 parties, whether it be bilateral or unilateral. There's only 2 witnesses here. There's no supplemental evidence. There's no hard evidence. There's no exhibits that have been entered. It's just testimony. And from your client's testimony, Ms. Harris, I'm struggling to understand how she even came into contact with the officer or even the officer's vehicle as far as all right, so I'm gonna reopen the record. I have to ask you one question, Ms. Strickland. Did you ever like make a left turn off of a side street onto 7 Mile?
No.
All right, Ms. Harris,
Did you cut through an alley?
So wait, stop. The Little Caesars is on the south side of the street. Officer Esselman is diverting the westbound traffic, which means he has to be on the north side of the street. It seems like your client's testimony is that she never was on the north side of the street. Like the positioning, the Little Caesars is on the south side. You can't go west you can't make a right turn off the south side you can't make, that's like how they drive in England and Australia. You can't go west without a left. You can't go west without a left coming from a south side from the south. You can't go west without a left. Because if nothing but right turns were made and the Little Caesars was always on the right, that means your client would be still driving east on 7 Mile, or if a right turn was made, they would either be driving south on Evergreen or some residential street going down towards 6 Mile.
Okay, I was traveling north on Evergreen. So it's left. It's still on my left. The Little Caesars was on the left. Making a right.
Who sent you north on Evergreen?
I'm sorry?
How'd you get north on Evergreen, Ms. Strickland?
I'm turning right off of Evergreen, going on to 7 Mile.
All right, I thought you were just directed to make a right turn onto Evergreen from the police.
7 Mile.
Oh,
On the way there.
Can we do this, Your Honor? If you left your house, give us how you got to Little Caesars from your house. Not just tell us the route you took, leaving 6 Mile and Pearson or wherever you came from. Tell us how you got to Little Caesars. I think that's the question. Don't give us east-west, just tell us what you did.
Me, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm coming up Evergreen. So I made a right off of Evergreen, turning onto 7 Mile. And once I continue going straight, The Little Caesars is on my left, so I don't have to make any additional left or whatever he's saying to get to Little Caesars. I just continue straight and it's on my left.
But ma'am, I thought your initial contact with the police the first time directed you to make a right onto Evergreen. You said that like 5 times.
I said onto 7 Mile, coming off of Evergreen.
Ma'am, you said but the testimony will reflect that I'm certain that my memory is clear that you said you were directed to make a right onto Evergreen.
No.
Madam, Ms. Harris, is your client changing their testimony at this point?
I don't believe that she is. I think the problem that we now have is there's been too much east, west, north, south. And for most people, and I'll even say for myself, because all of that had me confused, that is confusing. So I'm not quite sure, which is why I asked for her to tell us exactly step by step. If I pulled out of my driveway, I need you to take it that far so that the judge understands what were your directions.
So Ms. Harris, here's the problem.
Turn into Little
If you
Caesars,
directed
yes
to
or
make
no?
a right on the 7 Mile, the Little Caesars is now on your right, not your left. She just said the Little Caesars was on her left.
Yes. It's still on my left. So do you want me to say my directions coming from my house? Everything?
No, hold on.
Did you turn into a Little Caesars or not? You drove right into a parking lot? Like, you got to give us something.
Yes, I made a left into the Little Caesars.
All right, Ms. Harris, I don't know. Ms. Harris, I don't know what to do. Trying to get your client's directionality straight. Failing to do so. All right, so returning to analyzing the testimony that Ms. Strickland is saying she made a left turn and she was, defense is stating that they made, now it's claiming that they were directed to make a right turn on the 7 Mile and made a left turn into the Little Caesars. Then upon leaving the Little Caesars, there was one police car straddling the 2 lanes of 7 Mile, and that they went around that car into the middle lane. So that causes a concern for the court, mainly because you see a police vehicle and you then go around this vehicle by accessing the middle lane. Well, the middle lane is the turning lane. That's not a driving lane. I mean, there's no way a middle lane, if it was a 3-lane street, if it was a 7-lane street, and a car was straddling 2 lanes on either side, that means the middle lane would always have to be strapped, one of the lanes that's straddled by the patrol car. If it's a 3-lane street and there's a lane that could be called the middle lane that's not straddled, that would be the turning lane. In the 3-lane street, 3-lane, a gutter lane, and 2 driving lanes, that means one of the lanes that would always have to be straddled would have to be one of the middle driving lanes. The middle turning lane could reasonably not be straddled. So your client said she went into the middle lane to be able to get around the patrol car. That is problematic on the behalf of the defendants.
Your Honor, I have to add that you did ask her, and I understand that the court is giving its ruling, but the court asked her, and she indicated that she then turned and proceeded southbound on Evergreen.
Okay. Court notes that.
Yes, sir.
So with the testimony being what it is from the officer and Ms. Strickland, court is going to find Ms. Strickland by way of bench trial. Ms. Strickland is going to be found guilty in this particular case.
Or you can call a supervisor at this number. You ready right now?
Ms. Harris, do you have anything to say regarding the sentencing phase?
I would ask the court for leniency. Although I do object to the findings based off of all of the testimony that was given collectively, I still object to that finding, considering especially that the middle lane is a turn lane, and she indicated that she followed protocol and directions by making that turn, using a turn lane to make a left turn onto southbound Evergreen. I'm not quite sure how that makes her guilty of disregarding a signal when no one gave her a signal, when she truthfully stated that when told to turn right, she did turn right. I would see no reason for her to not follow any other signal. So I would ask for leniency in any sentencing imposed. If the court will allow a delayed sentence or to still take advantage of HIDA, we would ask for that as well.
Mr. Rosenthal, you have anything to say as to sentencing?
No, Your Honor, just briefly, Your Honor, it seems like conflicting testimony. The officers were out there doing their job as stated before. Even misunderstandings, they can cause accidents. So it's up to your discretion, Your Honor. We did have an offer on the table that wasn't taken, so at your discretion.
The court is going to still extend Ms. Strickland the benefit of the Homes Youthful Trainee Act. The fine in this particular case will be $225. That matter will be paid by (5/13/21). All right, 5/13/21. Pay the matter down to a zero balance, Ms. Strickland. You can pay it online at 36districtcourt.org. You can also pay it on the DivDat app. You can also pay it on any of the DivDat kiosks that are located throughout the city of Detroit. So it's pay on the app that you can download through Apple or Android, pay on any of the kiosks that are located throughout the city of Detroit, the DivDat kiosk, or pay it at 36districtcourt.org. If you want to pay in person, you can be prepared to wait in line and to wear a mask. All right, these proceedings are concluded.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties may log off.
I can leave, right?
Yeah. Problem is, Ms. Harris, she jumped into that middle lane like 3 streets before the intersection.
Listen, y'all all had me confused with the east-west because I don't think that she was traveling. She said she was traveling west to get there, and I don't think that she was. I don't think that's true. I think she had it confused.
That's why I was asking her, did you make a left turn? And she
Oh,
was
we're
like,
live on. Can we stop the live stream?